All right, let's go. Well, welcome to the podcast. Today we have a special, I'm not going to say special guest, I'm going to say special event, because if you're into the spiritual world, this person has something to tell us, something I've never heard of, but I am so interested. The world, welcome Daria. Daria, tell the world who you are.
Hi, I'm Daria. So I'm a somatic manifestation coach, and I also do Akashic records reading. So I'm also a bit of a spiritual guide, if you like. And at the moment, I've been called to work with spiritual entrepreneurs to help them achieve success, but in a really fun, sustainable way that doesn't lead them to burnout like a lot of the time that happens. So it's
Awesome.
kind of like a really fun approach to business, to life in general, and just also the spiritual connection. So this is kind of what I do at the moment anyway, because, it might change. Who knows?
But I love it. Okay, wait. So uh, the spirituality in entrepreneur success. Can you dig a little bit into that? How are those two things connected, and how do you help in that?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'd like to start a little bit about how my own journey got me there because I
Yeah,
think that gives
please.
a
Please
really
do.
great perspective. So my background was actually more in mental health and working in addiction, so helping people with addiction. So my last job was actually working at a prison. And so I very much started off in, the whole systemic work, like very like your usual routes to professionalism, your usual routes to helping people. Cause I always knew I wanted to help. I always knew I wanted to help the people that kind of needed it most. But I think I ended up, going down the path, which a lot of people do, which is like you're straightforward. You
Of
Google and
course.
you're like, okay, how do I get to where I want to be? Which was back then a clinical psychologist. So I followed all the steps, did all the routes, and unfortunately for me, I've always felt like there was something missing. Like, as much as I really loved helping people in the systems, the people that really needed it, I've always felt a little bit disconnected because I felt like there was just something that wasn't quite hitting home for me, wasn't quite helping in the way
Wasn't
I
got it.
wanted to. So I then stepped away from that because of my own like journey where I got super burnt out. I got very ill, like so much stress with working in these environments. And to be honest, there was a bit of a lack of support, lack of help with the trauma processing. So my whole system pretty much ended up collapsing. And, I was like bedbound for like a year. So I had a lot of time to think what happened and how I got there. Being in that space of really like sort of feeling hopeless. And that's where I started to really come back to the more spiritual aspects of myself, which were always there. I think they were just hidden behind the pressures of life that we.
Yeah, you went through the normal path that society has taught us to go to school, get to pick a profession, all that. And that's good. I love it. Okay, so the spiritual, you started investigating your spirituality more.
Yeah, it kind of just started to unlock. So I started to do a lot more reading around how to help myself out of the situation I was in where my whole system was collapsed. I actually got diagnosed with autoimmune conditions. So it was
Oh,
like, there wasn't much help in the systems in terms of dealing with it from any other way apart from medication. And I was very like, okay, let me actually look to see what else is out there. So that's kind of how I came across more holistic approaches and somatic
wow.
healing and spirituality. And this is kind of how I ended up, almost finding a cure that worked for me from a combination of different approaches. And this is where, yeah, that spirituality just kind of came unlocked. I couldn't even tell you how it happened, but I think it just, I went to like a wellness festival and, thinking around just connecting on more the holistic approach. And then I came across this tarot card reader. I'm not sure if you heard of,
Yeah, yeah, that I know.
and I just got really drawn to her for I don't know what reason, just did. And that reading just changed everything for me. It just unlocked something where she told me exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. And from then on, my journey began. It was like my own gifts started to unlock, my own wisdom started to come back from how I see it from previous lives, previous experiences. Like it all just kind of came flooding back. And,
It
yeah,
downloaded. It downloaded. It just came. It downloaded.
yeah, it's no other reason, to explain it. I can't really express it any other way that it just happened like that, like, in its own
That's
time
beautiful.
when it needed to
That's
happen,
beautiful. Yep.
It just did. And yeah, and then I got drawn to a course, which was a manifestation course, which also included Akashic Records readings, which was actually a side thing. Like, this wasn't the main part of the course, but something just told me you need to do this. Because originally, I was actually in private practice. I was going to go down the counseling route, so still keeping in the whole
Of
professional,
course, yeah, yeah.
you know, still my ego telling me no, you need to like appear really
Because you invested so much time. I work. It's funny, I work with clinicians. I
right.
own a private practice where I help a bunch of clinicians, and I also help offices outside of ourselves. So everything you're talking about, the burnout, it's a hard job. It's a hard job because you have to take on all this stuff you're hearing and separate yourself, and just the separation is work within itself. And so, yeah, I see. And you wanted to continue that in your way because you spent all this time getting there. That's, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go, do it by myself, because then maybe I'll be able to invest more time with clients, because that's what was lacking in the systems. I didn't feel like I
Yeah,
had enough time to actually like invest in someone. It was all a lot of paperwork, which again, I understand, like it's all there for a
but it's a
reason.
lot. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
it's
you.
a difficult system, but for me, I was like, I've gotta try something else, because it just didn't feel like I was doing my part. I knew I wanted to do more. So, yeah, I ended up doing the whole counseling aspect, and very quickly stemmed away from that, because like I said, I came across this, coaching certification. It was around manifestation, and it was something I was always interested in. But, again, the things you kinda hear about in society, I was always a bit like, "Oh,
Like it's
woo that's like, what is that?" But
yeah.
just again, something told me I needed to do it. So I just invested in this course, and oh my God, I flew through it. Like, I've never flown through studying so quickly in my whole life, because it was so aligned, because it was so like my thing, right? It just came to me and I found it, I grabbed it, and it was like, yes, this is it. And this is also how I unlocked the whole Akashic Records readings. It was just something that was like part of the course, but the more I did it, I just felt, okay, this is another thing that's gonna is gonna be my thing. Like, it's
Yeah,
something
it kept
I'm going to
opening you up. It kept opening you up to the new ideas. I have a lot of questions about that.
yeah,
I've never in my life. I come from a very spiritual background, but I've never heard of that.
yeah.
What? Explain it, please. It's what does it say here again? I can't even say
Akashic
it.
Records, yeah. So it's like the easiest way to explain it is like the cosmic library, or like the cosmic internet. From a spiritual perspective, it's like information of everything that ever was, is, or potentially could be. Because if we think about like the future, there's like multiple potentials. It's all dependent on the choices we're making. So it's containing everything, like anything ever possible, all thoughts, all existences, like everything. So and we all actually have access to it. It's just about sort of figuring out a way to connect to it that works for you, is how I found it anyway. Because I was taught to connect to it in one way, and then I very quickly found that that wasn't quite an alignment, and I found my own way of connecting that was working better for me. So it's very much, if anyone's interested, I
That's a
encourage people to
therapist.
share
That's
things.
a therapist. That's a therapist skill. Like you got what you needed from there and you evolved it. Go ahead. That was pretty cool. You did a therapist thing there.
Yeah, I feel like I've been doing a therapist thing my whole life, to be honest. It's like from
Yeah,
the
it does. It's a
get-go.
way.
It
Yeah,
was like, so yeah, it's just a wonderful aspect where I now do readings for people, and the line I mainly hear is, it's exactly what I needed to hear right now.
But
So
can I ask something real quick? Okay,
yeah,
so you say there's this the library, which I find very interesting. Does everybody like have their own library, or is it just like this one thing for everyone?
the way I see it, it's like it's the connected collective
A
consciousness for
leg. Okay, got it.
everyone.
So
And
everyone's energy is there.
yeah, everyone can
Yeah.
connect to this like collective consciousness, this collective energy. Like, we're all part of this unified cosmic energy. It's the way I see it, right? So it's like you can connect to it, but then the way you see the library will be dependent on you. Like, for example, I'm a very visual
Ah,
person. So,
okay, okay,
the way I see the library changes for me based on my
okay.
development. So it might be very different for someone else, depending on whether they're more, they like to see or hear or maybe sense. So it just
Got
really
it.
depends
That
on you as
makes
an
sense.
individual.
That actually makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense that way. Yeah, because everybody's different. Everybody
Yeah.
learns different. Everybody, like what you said, sees different. So okay, go ahead. I'm really trying to learn this. I'm interested in it. I want more info. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like sort of if you think about reality, we all see reality in our own way through our own lens,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
The same thing. We're gonna see this space through our own lens, however we connect to it.
I
So I
love
don't
it.
think there's like necessarily one standard way of doing
Okay.
anything or seeing it.
Because para therapist. So this is okay. So when you look at this, when you go into these files, right?
Yeah.
As a coach or as a agent of this modality. So when you go into these files, what do you like? Do you get past, present, and future, or possibilities of future? Like what do you just? I want to know what you see.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it all, really. So it just again depends on you and kind of how you want to connect for it.
Got
I've
it.
had readings done for me where people use a lot more of the past, for example, to go into the past lives and figure out what karma is there, what sort of like what you're still holding on to in this life from your previous lives. I've had other people that look more into potential futures and give you
Got
guidance
it.
on different paths. For me, the way I like to explain it, how I connect is I channel messages from the person's higher self and their guides. So when I go in,
What? Wait. Cool. It's
yeah,
what?
yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
um, when I go in, firstly, and really importantly, it's like you have to have permission, right? For whoever you're working with, it's always really important to establish permission from them to make sure that you have access to read this information because sometimes maybe someone's not really ready to hear whatever the downloads are, right? So a lot of the time, to be honest, someone's probably not going to come to you if they're not ready. But I have actually
Got
had a
it.
few people when they're not quite there, and I've had to
But
say,
they're trying to
actually,
get there.
you know what, we need to give it a few weeks or a month. Let's see. Maybe it's something you need to work through energetically and then we can come back to it. But a lot
Okay.
of the time it's a yes, and it's because they're there at the right time and they need that guidance, right? So once I get the permission to go in, I very much set the intention to connect with this person's higher self and their guides, so their spirit team or however else you want to see it. And I just ask to receive whatever I need to receive in that day for what that person needs to hear, whatever they need to hear, whatever guidance they need to receive. A lot of the time it is linked to manifestation just because that's, the space I'm in right now. So that's kind of how it comes through for me. I think we all, like I said, we all connect to it in our own way. So for me, it tends to be a lot around manifestation and sort of giving someone guidance on their journey towards their next step
Got it.
in
Got
business.
it.
Yeah,
Eh,
and yeah, like I said, the main thing I always hear, the person always says to me at the end is, I already knew this is just exactly what I needed to hear. It's like you confirmed what I already knew deep down. That's what I get.
Yeah, and even so as in all your in these in both professions, which are both with the human behavior and the mind and the spirit, isn't that people usually know what they have to do? They know they understand their situation, all of that, right? Am I right or no? Like they know it, they just
Yeah.
it's that belief
Really?
in
Like, we're all intuitive beings, like, we all
yeah.
have that connection to self. It's just, again, unfortunately, we lose it because it's hidden away, it's blocked up by, like, our past, our programming, all these things, and
Programming.
they make
I
it
love the
very
word you're
difficult.
using. Programming. So it's official. We all have a higher self,
Yeah,
right?
like from a spiritual
Everyone.
perspective, we are all divine beings. We're all connected to the collective consciousness. We are all powerful. We are
Oh,
all connected. We all have this intuition. It's just about finding home back to yourself, which is what
got
my
it.
main thing is, right? It's helping people find their home, like find themselves again, find the
Got it.
connection, because that's the real power. It's like I don't want
Yes.
to sit there and tell you how your future is going to go because for one, I don't know because it's dependent on your choices, right? It's really like there's
Big
so
time.
many timelines. It's really about what you choose to do. But two, I also don't want to do that because it's not very empowering. Like I want you to know that you have the confidence to take that
Yeah.
next step, you
I
know?
love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so you took this course,
Yeah.
and the more you got into it, uh, what was next? So you learned this new skill. What was next with that?
I just went and applied it. I found people
Yeah,
who
you just
wanted to do
started.
it. Yeah, like
No
I went
way.
into it. Like I got people who wanted to do these readings. I then connected with other individuals in the same sort of community, because then we can all share like the experiences
Of
together.
course.
And that's literally
Oh,
where
so
I'm going, right?
you did like groups. You could do that, like groups in this, or is it just one-on-one?
Maybe some people do like collective readings. I've been part of a group where like they call it like a container. So there's like, like where the one I was in, there was about 15 people, and they sort of channel messages for the whole collective based on like the sort of energies, with like the combined energies of everyone. And again,
Got it.
the idea is that everyone who's there will end up being on the same sort of reasoning of why they're there. So there's like energies that you can pull for everyone that are helpful, right?
Got
But
it.
it's like if you want that real deep one-on-one guidance, then yeah, like that
Got
one-on-one
a one-on-one. I
works a
think,
better.
even if you're like, I'm very, I believe spiritual, that it is there, right? But even if you're not a believer in that, going to a group like that where everyone is like on that positive mindset that we're gonna search for our soul, that's pretty cool. So how do you tie it back into entrepreneurship? That's very interesting too, that idea of bringing this in as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, to me, spirituality has really given me that boost, not only in the balance, because in terms of balance, like if you have that connection to your intuition, you know
Yes.
when your body needs the rest, and then you know when your body needs to push forward, right? It's really about making sure you know when to be in that feminine and when to be in that masculine energy. And I don't mean gendered, I mean like the
Yep, I
energy,
got you. I know
spiritual
exactly
aspect,
what you mean.
right?
Yep.
So it's really being able to hold that space for both, for the creator mode where we really go and create the vision of the future, but then the surrender mode where we go and enjoy this journey and we just be and we let ourselves receive. So this is like, for me, it's key in business, right? Because it's the balance. Because like
Wow.
you also mentioned, like you see so many people burn out, and that's probably why, because there's this huge disconnect from self. There's this huge sort of ignoring our own needs. It's this like push and go, and like we need to achieve, we need to reach, and success is defined by usually money only. And that's like, to me, that's, it's not empowering, because success can be so much more than just money. To me, it's all about connection. It's all about self-development. It's about the journey, the expression, the surprises that you get along the way, right? That's the beauty. Like this journey, to me, it's not about reaching a certain amount of money, because yeah, that's cool. But what about the surprises along the way that I pick up? And like life has a way of like throwing something at me, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't expect that. That's so cool. Like if I knew exactly how I was gonna go and I knew exactly my plan of how I was gonna get there, that would be a little bit boring for me. So
Yeah.
I like to let the universe kind of like plan it out for me. I like to set a sort of a vision of where I'm heading, and that's based on the feelings, right? Based on how I'm going to feel in that vision. And then I let the universe kind of guide me, and I just surrender to the flow. To me, that's so much more fun. So for
I
me, this
love
is
it.
where key in business is. It's really stepping away from this like push and striving towards something, and being in this flow and energy of just waiting for something to happen, and coming into the fun of life, coming into the fun of the journey. So to me, that's absolutely key.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying. I always try to find like, when I interview someone, and I've interviewed people that have uh stories, really, UFO stories, stuff like that, and I always try to find like the anchor in reality that, hey, it could be possible. And everything you're saying with spirituality and finding oneself, it all fits into what we're supposed to do as humans to get to success. So that's funny. You have to identify your success, right? You have to know what it is. It's not all about money, maybe to some, but not all. And you have to know who you are, but you're saying this on a spiritual level. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm interested. I know I asked you, you can't do a reading, right? You honest? I just want to know. So what? My files are corrupt though, so there's problems.
There's problems with what?
My files are a little corrupt. So,
Oh, oh, no, it's just, it's more around building the sacred
I
space,
know.
and
I got
it
it.
takes a while to connect into it, but, I mean, if I do get any intuitive downloads
You
throughout, I
tell me.
will definitely let you know. Yeah.
Yes,
So
please. I'm
you
open
seem to
to
be
it. I'm
open
open
to
to it.
it, so I'm
Yes, I'm
feeling the
open
permissions
to it.
there. So, yeah, I'll definitely let you know if something comes through, but it's usually, there's a whole practice and a ritual that goes into connecting to this space, and actually it's something I'd love to discuss a little bit because I think,
Yeah,
again,
please.
when it comes to spirituality, I think a lot of, I think it's important to know kind of how to go about it so for people can really start to connect to it too, right? For me, it's all about building your own ritual of how you connect to it. And for me, it comes down to all the aspects of the whole system. So it's the body. For me, it's making sure the body is actually feeling safe to perform this reading, to channel this energy. It's making sure I've processed any upcoming traumas or anything that are happening within that day, within that moment, which, it happens, like your body
Yep,
changes
every
from day
day.
to day. So it's, for me, I do that somatic practice to make sure my body is ready. I then go and talk to my mind. So I talk to my ego, all those, the little voices that tell you, crap, this is
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah,
It's not gonna work. What are
yeah.
you doing? So I make sure I address those aspects, those fears. I talk to them and I say, yeah, I hear you. It makes sense that you feel this way. Of course it does. Of course it does. So many people have told you that it's bullshit. Of course you feel this way. You want to protect me. So I make sure that relationship is there. And then it's like I form this bond with them so we can kind of like do this together. So I make sure my mind is also in a state to work together. And then I check on the spiritual aspect, right? I do like a cleanse. I make sure my space feeling safe. It's got all the nice aromas that I like, all the aspects that make me feel like, okay, I'm ready to connect. So it's like I do this on all levels, and then I go into this energy field where at that point everything's in alignment, right? Your whole system's in alignment.
You're ready.
And I think a lot of people do tend to miss those other aspects. They tend to just focus on the spiritual and the maybe like the rituals of, having essential oils and crystals, but they forget about the body and the mind, which are also so important to consider in this work.
Of
So
course. So it's like holistic. So you gotta get ready. You gotta like go on. It's a trip. So what does the person feel anything? So let's say you're reading to me, right?
yeah,
Do I feel something? You know what
uh,
I mean? I don't know. It might be a dumb question.
and
I have a lot of dumb
and
questions.
it really depends, like on people. Again, depends on where you're at, how open you are to also receiving my energy fields. The other thing I do as well throughout readings is I also perform energetic clearings, right? If I'm called to. So if I'm being told by my higher self or guides that I need to step into the other person's field and do a clearing on their behalf, or do what I call like an opening, so like an energetic opening, almost like leaving like a door for them to receive a download later. If I'm
Move.
called to do that, I can do that too, right? And that's something that some people do tend to experience because in that space, what I do is I kind of like jump into your energy field, if that makes sense. So it's like I connect my field with yours to sort of
Yeah,
embody it. Yeah,
got it.
so it's like I embody what's going on in your field, and then I can create these changes for you on your behalf if I'm called to do so. So those aspects people do feel, or they say, maybe a day after or a few hours after, they're like, oh yeah, like I feel like this huge like shift or release or a change in sensation, whatever it is, different for everyone.
What? So that's cool though. I would definitely, that is something that I would do. Because I don't know, it sounds very interesting. It's like, why not try it, right? Even if you're not a believer, why not try it? I mean,
Mm,
spirituality. I mean, that if you could get that done, everything is easy, right? So okay, so now your manifestation. Tell me about that, right? Because I've never been up to now, I've never been a manifestation type of person. I've never believed that I can like think of something and it's gonna. That
yeah.
was before. Now I see there's a lot more connection to how you think about what you want and all that stuff. So let's talk about that work that you did.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that has been a wonderful, beautiful learning journey that I am still on for sure. And it just keeps changing how I see it. But I think the main thing I would like to put across that I've come to now is actually manifestation is all about the present. So I know we have this idea that it's about the future and it's
Yeah,
about
that's what I thought.
all this, right?
Yeah.
It's actually about the present. And the reason is like, why are we striving to get somewhere? Right? Like, why are we wanting to succeed, to get money? Because it makes us feel a certain way. It makes us feel safe, secure, joyous, happy, whatever else the feelings you're after, right? And the thing is, we have access to those feelings at any given moment.
Yeah, actually, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
that
It's
makes sense.
yeah, it's all about actually connecting to the fact that you have access to that right now.
Yeah, you can get it.
You
It's the
learn
same feelings, right? It's the same feelings you're looking for over there. They're here right now if you want
They
them.
are. Yeah, they're just up for grabs, and it's
Yeah.
really
Oh
up
my
to
God.
your perspective. It's up to your perspective of whether you think how your life is, whether you feel you're deserving of these feelings a lot of the time, or whether
Oh,
you feel that you're safe of these feelings a lot of the time. And those are the blocks that first needs to be worked for a lot, right? And what I found a lot of manifestation also, and this is why I've now delved into and I've called it somatic manifestation coaching.
yeah, that was my next question. What's
Yeah,
the
it's
difference?
it's the missing piece for me once again. Like a lot of manifestation work is tends to just be seen as spiritual, it tends to be seen as working through like limiting beliefs and mind blocks. But actually a lot of the blocks come from the body because our body doesn't feel safe at certain points. So even in my own life journey, right? I have had a lot of struggle of feeling safe around money. And it comes from like generational traumas, past
Yeah.
karmas from this life. So what's happened is like I unconsciously kept myself in one level of income for 10 years. Unconsciously. Every single job I got, everything that like came to me, it was just the same level. Why? Because it made me feel
Yeah.
safe. Because it
Yeah.
made me feel safe. Because it made me feel like if I don't have more, I don't have anything to
It could
lose.
go wrong. Yeah, I already
Yeah,
know this space. I could live in this space. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, look at
And a
that.
lot of people have this. A lot of people have this money trauma from, past, especially generationally, right? There's a lot there that needs to be unpacked. But whilst we can mentally understand that and do the work within our, like, with our ego, with those shadow aspects, a lot of the work also needs to be done in the body because our body holds those aspects of unsafety. It literally feels like physically, like it doesn't want to let go of the reality it currently holds because it's telling you, like, no, it's not safe. So your nervous system gets out of whack, it gets out of balance, it puts you in states of fight or flight or collapse or freeze, and it makes you have coping mechanisms that aren't very helpful to you, which then hold you back. And these coping mechanisms, again, come through in physical form, right? So it's not just mental, it can be addiction. It can be like, again, food is another one, like relationships, not setting boundaries, like all these
Food
things.
is a
Like,
huge one.
yeah. And they're all kind of like the body and the mind sort of sabotaging together, right? Because there's this sense
Bro,
of
isn't that like trauma? It's like trauma. Isn't that what?
it's trauma and it's stored charge, stored energy. Like if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, it's like energy from the past, from this life as well. If you look at it from a more like physical somatic perspective, it's trauma, which again, there's so much
Uh,
research now around how it is stored literally in the
it's it's
body.
it's becoming more of a
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah,
Because,
definitely.
oh my God, I tell you what, like for me, it's been absolutely like life changing. As soon as I delved into that actual somatic work, it put everything together for me. Because to me, again, it's like the holistic approach is working with all parts, making sure all parts are in alignment, making sure all parts are looked after. So your whole system is working as one to then get you to where you want to go, right? When you feel like you're actually safe enough to do it. So.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, as I hear you talk, right? I think you are perfect for this job. I think you were onto something. I'm gonna tell you why. Because the training, I interview a lot of therapists, right? So
Right.
one of the and when I interview a therapist that's like a Christian therapist, right? I always try to find like the balance between the mental health aspect of it, which is science, and then the spiritual side of it, and it's usually hard to answer. But the way you're explaining this, you see the balance that you're in. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
see that you have the knowledge of the science part of it. So I don't know. It's you good, yeah.
Oh, thank
People
you.
gotta hire you. Telling you, you're really good at this. Okay, so what's next for you in this space?
I am just seeing where life takes me with it. Like at the moment, I'm really enjoying doing the one-on-one work, offering the somatic healing aspects, plus the manifestation to really help other spiritual entrepreneurs on their own business journey too, right? Because again, for me, what I found when I started this was I went back to my old patterns of burning and overworking, overachieving. And, in business, to really make it long term and be sustainable, you have to do differently. Like you have
Yeah,
to
it's
adapt
not. Yeah, you can't
to flow.
sustain that. Correct.
Yeah. So what's really helped me is this everything I've learned, right? And this is kind of what I want to give people is this approach to business that's a lot more relaxed and peaceful and in tune with yourself. And it's like you actually can get to where you're going at exactly the same time, but in a more fun and peaceful way because everything just aligns so much easier and quicker when everything's in tune. And you're also giving yourself a break because, again, let's
Yeah,
be real, like, why are we going there? It's to have a more peaceful
I
and
know.
enjoyable and easy life. So why not do that now? Like, do that
Definitely,
now. The
definitely.
trajectory you set for yourself at the groundwork is the trajectory it's going to take, right? If you start off thinking that I need to do more, I need to overwork, I need to do this, you'll always have that mindset. You will always
Yes,
be in that energy. So it's so important to make sure that people send the groundwork where they're more in tune, they're nurturing to themselves, they're balanced, because again, then that's the energy it's going to take. And that's what I want to give other people to make
yeah,
sure
I know.
that, they have a really enjoyable business journey because that's what it's all about. And it's like, it's so great that more people are coming into their passion. They're coming into doing what they really love. They're giving and they're also starting to learn to receive because that's also important, right?
Yeah.
It's a balance of giving and receiving. And I want to help them enjoy that journey. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. But like I said, who knows? I'm very much like, who knows what the
Yeah,
future
you
holds,
live
right?
that life. You're living the same thing you're preaching. You're in the moment, and you'll see. Did you? It feels like you just read me. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you, because that's one of my issues. I press on the gas and forget that there's
Mm,
brakes, and yeah. So that was good. That I felt like you were telling. Like I do got to do something about
great.
that. That's
Well,
where I am now.
I hope there was a lot there that maybe also lets you shift a little bit, right? Lets you step into this energy of fun because again, it's like if we wake up reminding ourselves of like, why am I doing this? And it's because I want to have fun, because I want to enjoy living and being. That's all you need. Just that one little thought in the morning and then like this connection to your heart space and a nice deep breath and you're set for the day. You're set for this energy to be more in flow, to be different, to show up different, to show up in the way we were meant to show up, which was to just be at peace and enjoy life, not to
Well,
work, not to strive constantly, never feeling like we're getting anywhere, or when we do get there, or just look for the next thing straight away, right? It's
yeah.
about enjoying the journey.
Yeah, because that's what always happens. You go for it at 100,000 miles per hour. You
Yeah.
get there, and then it's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And you keep going, and
And let
yeah,
me ask you this, right? Say you worked out every single step of your plan. You're like, right, I'm going to do exactly this and this and this, and then I'm going to get there. How do you feel when you get there? Like, most probably not very excited because you're like, well, I've worked out exactly how it is. And there was no surprise.
there's
There was
no
no
moment.
gifts.
Yeah,
There was no like, even challenges. Like, challenges are beautiful too, right? They're
I
like
love
situations
challenges.
that make us grow. So it's almost like the way I like to say it is, how many times do you want to rewatch the same movie? Like, or do you want to watch a new movie that excites you where you don't know the ending quite yet, or you don't know how the character like and the plots unfold? It's all about being part of the journey, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, are you ready to like step into that new film to let your life unfold and let yourself be surprised? Or do you want the constant like control and the same patterns? Because to me, when we're in that energy of so much control and so much repeated thing where we know exactly how things pan out, it's almost like we're not fully living because we're
at
stuck.
all.
It's like time stops, right? We're stuck in
Exactly.
the same film on repeat. And that's not very fun. So,
Print it. That was a good commercial. Print it. You gotta take that and use. That was good. The way you explain. I love it. I love it. I love it. So now I want to know why people helping. Why is that what you chose with life? Because yeah, you're doing different industries, but it's still rooted in the people helping
yeah.
business.
I
What
mean,
is that?
it's I've something I've always had in me, like from very young. I feel like people came to me for like, I don't know, support or advice, and I was just always wanting to be the one to help. But I think there is obviously my own journey too. Like there's actually a
Of
lot from my
course.
past lives, and there's from this life too. Like my dad has schizophrenia, right? So very unwell. So I've always felt like I wanted to be the one to help, to fix, to save. And that's been a really difficult journey that I've been on myself. And actually, from that, what I learned was I can only guide. I can't help or save. I can guide because I'm not the one in a position of power. They are. So
Got
all
it.
I can do is guide people to where they need to go if they find their way to me. Those are the people I'm led to guide. But I've had to really learn the hard way that I can't be the one to make changes for someone. They have to do it for themselves. And it's unfortunately not in the books for everyone, right? For my dad included, unfortunately. It's just not in his life plan or however you want to look. Like he has his own journey, and I've had to really learn to honor that. I've had to learn to let go that maybe there's certain situations that there is no fixing, and that's okay because maybe there's challenges or lessons that someone needs to learn in their own time. So, yeah. But for me, guidance came from my own life story, from previous lives. And ultimately, I think we're all here to connect. And when we connect through guidance, right? We connect through shared experience, through love. So to me, helping and giving is that. It's connection, it's love.
Got it.
So to me, we're all ultimately here for that. We just all express it in different ways.
Like that. I like that. It was Mr. Schweitzer that said that the purpose to human life is to serve, show
Mhm.
compassion, and be willing to help. Is that why you be get? This might be too close to class. It's okay if you don't want to answer. You just said no, right?
Yeah,
So you mentioned your dad. So is that why you went towards the therapist route? Is that
yeah,
what you?
yeah, definitely.
What a good daughter! You wanted it. Oh my god, that is amazing. So you became a therapist to be able to
Yeah,
help.
it was that. It was to also, I had also quite a difficult upbringing when I moved to this country with my stepdad. There was like very difficult scenarios. So it was to understand a lot of the difficulties I went through, a lot of the trauma and abuse I was put through. It was to understand that. And it was also to understand and try and help my dad. So there was a lot of trying to fix a lot of people, to be honest, and give
God,
reason to kind of why it happened, why things happened to me. And, interestingly enough, everything that always unfolded in my life really has been like in divine timing. So I'll tell you like one very personal thing because I actually feel very comfortable. Um, a few years back, I was working in a mental health hospital. So, I was getting the sort of training to then move on to do like a clinical doctorate role. And then I got offered an opportunity to go work for the prison. So I was like, oh, like in addiction counseling. So I was like, okay, this is a change of pace, different experience. Let me do it. And then, literally, just before I was meant to have an interview, my dad had a very bad episode. And because of his episode, my granddad died because he hurt him, right?
oh my god, I'm
Huge
sorry to hear.
trauma happened to me. Like I had to like go deal with this, sort it out, all this. And again, obviously my dad ended up being, retained. And here's me almost like coming back absurdly laughing at this like cosmic weird intervention of here's me going for a job interview at a prison where all this goes down. And then, it's just you
It's
can't
like
it's
yeah.
so strange. So
Oh
then
no
I come
way.
back and then, I still do the job interview and I go to the prison and, I'm having to deal with a lot of my own trauma whilst trying to like help people that are there. So yeah,
So you
things
went to
have a
the
weird
job
way.
interview after this all happened. You still went to that interview.
Yeah, because I was so determined to, get the
Oh, that's
experience I needed
courage.
to get and get to where I needed to be for whatever
That's
reason
courage.
because I was on that path. But And you know what? It was a great experience. It was a difficult one. It was the one that led to my burnout, my absolute like collapse, because the energy there is very difficult. You know, you're
Yeah.
surrounded by people who have lost hope for life, lost hope because other people have lost hope in them. So being surrounded by that and then also going through my own thing, not knowing how to actually deal with trauma that happened, but also trauma that I accumulated from working in mental health hospitals and
Oh,
the prison,
oh,
and there
yeah.
was no real support to process the trauma. It just all accumulated, right? And this is where I say, oh, like, we need to bring more somatic work into healthcare systems because people need a way to process the environment they're working in, not just mentally, but through the body, because there's a lot, right? Like working in these systems, it's hard. Like I had to, I had to restrain people against their will, obviously.
Changes you. It changes the person working. It changes you. I don't know how it could not. It's a lot of I don't, even in mental health, just in even in a private practice, or you like people that are in the healing business, the mental healing business. It's a rough like profession because you cannot. It is impossible to not get affected by some of the stories you guys hear, and some of the like. What would you say to a professional that is tired of doing what they're doing? They want to switch it, but they're stuck in that ego, right? That would be a little bit of an ego. They're stuck in that ego, like, no, but I did all this training, I worked all, I can't let it go. What would you tell them to do or think or steps?
To, yeah, be brave, follow the heart, and that also, all that doesn't mean it was for nothing. It was all still amazing experience, still amazing lessons, and everything I've learned I still use in my private practice too. Absolutely, it made me who I am, right? So it's not wasted. It's just you're slightly altering the course of your journey, and maybe you're exploring a different aspect that isn't seen as like standard, but it doesn't mean it's not right or it's bad. It's just different. Like there's all these different journeys, different ways of looking at it. So it's about really working with those aspects of yourself that are telling you, like, why are you scared to change? For me, it was, I thought that people would perceive me as not professional, right? And I worked for so long to look at
Because of the
professional.
industry. Got it, got it, got it.
It was like, oh, but what if people don't think that way of me? What if my family thinks I'm doing some random crap and they're like, what are you doing? What if
You're
people
reading what? You're reading whose files?
yeah. Or like the worst one for me with my own link to mental health, right? It's like, what if people tell me I'm crazy? Like, what if
Right,
people tell
right,
me I'm
right, right.
unwell? And I've actually had that before, right? That's something I've had to deal with. But those are the fears I've had to take, I've had to sit with and analyze and be like, well, actually, it doesn't matter because it's not about other people's judgment anymore. It's actually about my own judgment. Because by staying in those trapped doors of where I felt myself literally trapped, it's just not, it wasn't worth it for me anymore because I was becoming someone I didn't want to become. I was living
Mm,
a life someone else told me to live. And I just, after a while, you just go and you're like, I just need to stop caring about other people because ultimately it's my life and I want to live it the way I want to live it. Like, why do I care so much about what people think? The people that are really meant to be in my life will understand me and will remain and will show me
right,
love and support. And that
right.
is exactly what happens. And
Yeah.
those who don't, well, then they're not meant to be in my life. And that's also okay. So it's
Oof.
about also learning to be with that sort of like, learning to be with the abandonment wounds, learning to deal with the fact that people might fall away, your life might fall away, but it doesn't mean it's worse. It's different. And that's okay.
Got it. I like that. That's the perfect answer. That's what I wanted to hear. But and I knew you were gonna answer, not because I know you or because I read anything, because you're a professional. You can see that you're a real professional. And that's what a professional would say. Yeah, you use everything. Every single thing you learn, you use is like you say, is a change. That's all it is. I
Hmm.
don't know. I love what you're talking about. I am very interested in getting a real reading. So send me information on that. And let me and so what can an entrepreneur expect when in their first visit with you or their first meeting? What can they expect?
Yeah, I mean, so it depends if I offer either just a reading, and that's like a really good way to sort of get to know whether how we vibe as well. And it's like it's to receive the guidance that you need right now, which already could be a lot in itself. Or at the moment, I'm offering a somatic program. It's called Embodied Business Reset, and that's like a month. So it's 4 weeks where we delve into the body work, the somatic aspects, and the nervous system regulation to really give people a way to find that balance in themselves, kind of how I was saying, to make sure that they are building sustainable business success, not just like up and crashing and burning.
Just go.
It's
Yeah, got
really
it, got
like
it.
a way to come back and tune to yourself, to start to work with your body, with your mind, with all aspects of you together, and processing a lot of the trauma blocks that are there, right? So really help people unlock that next level of success, which a lot of the time people like feel stuck and they're like, oh, I can't get to the next level. And it's because there's no safety. So it's really working on this. And again, I'm sure in the future, there'll be a lot of different programs they'll be offering, and maybe a book and a course and who knows what else. But
Yes, you gotta do a book. A book would be I would, yeah, a book would be pretty cool to do. I think it's cool the way you explained it. The way you're communicating what you do is really good. It's really, really good. Like, I got it. I'm interested. People should go do it, because why not, right? Let's try different things. We're in a time where different is good.
yeah, for
So,
sure. And
right?
it's always about, if we vibe, we vibe. If not, it's
Yeah.
great to meet you. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not one of them things where it's like, oh my God, no, you have to. No.
You dial the number, you're done.
Yeah,
No,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
all
yeah.
about, let's see if we vibe. Because again, for me, what I do is I want to make sure I'm having fun. So I make sure I vibe with my clients, right? Because for
Wow.
me, it's also about the flow and the right energy, because the way I can guide is when it feels good to me. So I want to
Yeah,
make sure it
yeah.
feels good, not feels like pressured or out of like scarcity or out of like, oh my God, I need money or I need this. Like, not at all, right? It's all about fun for me.
Do you still do the tarot cards, or you don't do that no more? That's
I
not
would actually do. I sometimes they come out in readings when I'm guided to. They come out as well. I do it for myself a lot. It's just, again, it's just another way to receive messages, to receive guidance. So yeah,
I've never gone to a reading. Ever, ever, ever. That's interesting too. That's something. Have you ever discovered something really like like when you're doing tarot reading on someone, or I know you can't get specific, but like just a generalization of, is there anything that's like,
I mean, honestly, every single session I do is mind blowing to me because every
really?
single time I'm like, that little ego still goes, oh my God, is this going to work? Is this going to work? And when it all aligns and someone comes out and they're like, oh my God, thank you. Like, this is really, I knew it. And you just confirmed that this is exactly what I needed to hear. It just gives me that sense of like, wow, like I did my part, like I helped. And it's mind blowing every time. It gives me that sense of wonder and magic every time. And it just strengthens it every time. And, I will say I have some very interesting, funny ways of connecting to my guides now. Like the way I receive downloads sometimes is like with humor. So that's what I've been discovering a lot as well, right? Sometimes I'll have a session and it's like I'm sitting there and I have a laugh and I'm like, okay, how do I explain this to my client? And it's always something really like, because maybe their guide is trying to be funny or they show me something inappropriate and I'm like, really?
Got it. Oh, that, yeah, yeah. You can't control what they do, right? They're gonna do whatever they want.
So
No.
yeah, that's been really cool. Like, it's been really cool to like explore the more humorous side. And it's like the more I step into this energy of just fun flow, everything just the magic just keeps flowing in. And it's just amazing, honestly. Like, I'm so grateful to just be where I am and just to have this
Nice.
experience.
Yeah, you're like really passionate about it, which is, it's cool. It's cool to see. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to you because I'm interested in getting all of the above, right?
Hey,
I want to do the terror. I've been scared of it, like very scared, like, but I want to do it. I want to see what happens. I want to go
yeah.
check those folks out.
Don't worry. You will only ever receive information that you're ready to receive, is how it
Okay,
works, right? Like
got it.
your higher self, your guidance will not let you receive something you're not ready to hear yet. So it's like whatever you receive, even if it's like shifting and it pushes you to change and explore, it's because you're ready. So
Got
we can start to unpack that fear straight away. Like there's no need to fear these.
Love it. I love it. I love your energy. I love your passion with what you're doing, and I love your direction. thank you for joining me. It was a great interview. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been so much
Wow.
fun. Thank you.
Repeat after me. I am powerful. I am powerful. Louder. I am